Okay, so the note sheet's kind of going out of order. I'm taking it in a different direction. We're starting with this part. The one that has the 4 expressions, and you're deciding which ones would be easier. This is an opinion question, so you really can't get it wrong. It's your opinion. But if you pick one that I have not yet taught you how to factor, I will ask you why you think it's easier. So, let's see. Table 2. And if no one decides, then I'll call on you at random. So table 2, which one do you think would be easier to write in factored form? Okay. Do you know what the factored form would be? Or can you tell me what method we talked about that could get us there if you haven't factored it yet? Okay. So I think you just need to tweak this a little bit. So when I write things in factored form, what does the inside usually look like? Is it usually multiplication? Plus and minuses. So instead of saying t times 2, because I like the numbers you picked, what should it be? Plus, like, together? No. Okay, let's see. So factoring, I should be able to multiply them out and get my original. So like t times t is t squared. Outer terms, t times -4 is -4t. Inner terms would be 2t. And last terms would be -8. So it's not, and I mean, you would combine like terms. So let me do that real quick. So it's not exactly like ours. How can we fix it a little bit? It would be a -2 instead. And now it is good. Okay, so now if I were to multiply this out, and let me just rewrite this one, it would give me my original problem. Do you guys remember what method we did, what that method is called, or what it looks like? The diamond method. So if you're like, I have no clue how they got that at all, I'll briefly explain. The top of the diamond is A times C, the bottom is B. And when I say A, B, and C, I'm talking about numbers only. So a lot of the time I'll ask what A is, and people will say x squared. No, it cannot be a variable. It has to be the number in front. So what's the number in front of this C squared? And then my C is 8. What's 1 times 8? So that'll go on top. The bottom is B. What's in the B position? A -6. Yes, the signs do matter. Because then the next part is kind of like a puzzle. You need to multiply to the top and add to the bottom. There's only a few ways you can multiply to get 8. What are some of the ways?
4 times 2. 2 times 4.
And then based on what it's supposed to add to, what's the only one that'll probably work? And since it adds to a negative, they both would need to be negative. Question, Emery?
You could also do -4 and -2 from the top, make it a positive.
Correct. So that multiplies to give you positive and it adds to give you a negative. So when I just list out the factors of 8, I kind of just ignore the negatives for a little bit. I then will play around with it depending on what I have. So, because really, like, you could think of it as subtraction too, like, can I subtract either of these numbers? But yeah, either way. there's only one combination that'll work. So if you're trying out different numbers and you're not finding it, then or it's not working for the whole diamond, then you haven't found the right set. And then it gets written like this. Because the 4 and the 2 are both negative, that's why they're both minus. Questions on that? Okay, we've covered that Tuesday and then Thursday last week. So please make sure we understand those before tomorrow. All right, so let's see. Table 4, what's another one that you think would be easy to factor? Marco said that. So table 4. Out of my 3 remaining, which one do you think would be easier to factor? Other than the hand. You don't have to tell me the answer, but this one you will get easier. The third one? And why do you think the third one would be easier? Basically just variables, fewer numbers. If you notice in the diamond method, we use all the numbers, like the A, B, and the C. So if there's fewer written, what is it if it's not written? A 1. Then it's probably easier to do. So I would agree with you there. I've not yet taught you how to factor the other 2, but you'll learn how to do it today. So this one, when we factor it, A times C on the top, B on the bottom. Table 5, what's going to be my A times C for this one that we're looking at? Negative 20. And 1 times negative 20 is my A times C. Table 6. What's my B? So it can't be a letter. Try again. 1. So the number that's in front of X normally, but yeah, whatever exponent to the first power. So 1 goes there and it's positive. Table 7, can you tell me some pairs of numbers that multiply to 20? 10 and 2. Thanks, Emery. Table 7, I think there's one more. 20 and 1. Only one of them could possibly give me a 1 when I add or subtract. Which one would that be? Okay, good. And the reason I said subtract is because we multiply to a negative, so one of these must be, which one will it have to be? Because it adds to a positive. So it has to go on the 4. And then once you find those, great, you just write them in factor form. Use the letters that they use, please. B plus 5, because 5 was positive, and B minus 4. Okay, so that's like a refresher from the past few days. Question? All right. The other 2, well, the first one has what we call a GCF in it. So we'll cover that a different day. There won't be any GCF on your quiz. Do you guys remember what GCF stands for? Greatest common factor. So again, I feel like that will take another whole day. So let's just save that one for another day. This one down here, let's practice with it. Granted, I don't really like that, what the numbers create, but you can see, and then we can compare it to other methods later. So I'm going to teach you right now to factor this one. 9x squared plus 3x minus 20. So when you have a trinomial in standard form, you do want to check to see if there's a GCF first, but we'll just save that for another day. There's no GCF in this one, so we'll just keep it moving. Make sure it's in standard form, and it is. The next thing you're going to want to do is apply the diamond method. So it's A times C on top, B on the bottom. But you'll see that when A is not 1, there's a few extra steps involved. So A times C, what's 9 times negative 20? Negative 180. What's my B in this one? 3. Now there's lots of numbers that multiply to 180. There's lots. So that's why I'm like not a huge fan of this problem, because there's so many. But there is a combination of all the lots of ways you can multiply to 180 that will give you 3 when you add. Now, if it's negative when we multiply, it's 3 when we add. What does that tell you about the numbers? Would they be closer together or farther apart? All right, well, think about it. Like if I did 90 and 2, is there any way I can make one of these negative and add to 3? So that's not going to be the combination. 16 and 3 still doesn't work. 180 and 1 still doesn't work. So the numbers are actually probably going to be closer together. So try figuring out what those numbers could be. They do exist. So within your groups, maybe take like 30 to 60 seconds to figure that out. To our list that we don't already have. It is, right? That multiplies to 180. Is this the combination that works, class? Mm-hmm. So there's others out there. John, do you have it? All right, 12 and 15 do multiply to 180. And then it is negative, so one of them has to be negative. Since it adds to a positive, it has to go on the 12. All right, but it is possible. It might have been harder to figure it out because 180 is so large, but there's lots of ways you can get to 180. If you haven't found it that made it work for the whole diamond, then you haven't found it yet. All right, you've got to keep trying. So far my factors written like this are x minus 12 and x plus 15. That I would normally be done, except for that my a is not 1. All right, if I were to FOIL this out, like the first terms, x times x, is that the same as 9x squared? No. So there's an added step when a is not 1. And that is to, I'm going to erase some of this so I have more room. But that is to divide by the a from your factor. They're taking the notes on this. All right, so still do the diamond method, find the two numbers that make it work. But since a is not 1, you have to then divide a. And right now a is 9. From here, you're going to do what I call simplify and slide. So if it simplifies like this fraction to a whole number, great. Then you can leave it as a whole number. Otherwise, you need to make sure the fractions are fully reduced. I know you guys love fractions and you love reducing them. What number goes into 12 and 9? 3. So what's 12 divided by 3? What's 9 divided by 3? All right, so simplify your fractions. What does 15 over 9 simplify to? 5. Over 3. Good. I'll show you a little trick if you're not good with simplifying. But simplify your fractions. Make sure they're fully reduced. If you have any remaining denominators, you're going to slide them in front of the variable. Okay, so take that remaining denominator and slide it. And then rewrite it. So I get 3x minus 4 in parentheses. 3x plus 5 in the other parentheses. And now when I FOIL it, I do get my original problem. So 3x times 3x is 3x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x. Negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x. And negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. Combine like terms, that does give me a positive 3x in the middle. So yeah, I found what works by adding that extra step. So I'm going to type out the steps and you can copy them onto your notes so that you can have like a starting point. And then I'll give you some to try. Questions on that process? Oh yeah, sorry. That is a good observation. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. My apologies. All right, any other questions? All right. So, I'll give you one to try, but I'm gonna type it out. So make sure you have this written out. Also, on your notes, it gives you a different way, but honestly, I can't make sense of it. And I'm a math teacher and I've taught this subject like for 4 years. So you can read it, and if you understand it, go on with your bad self. You can use that method. But I'm gonna use what I think works every time, which is the diamond method. And then if A is not one, make sure you do the simplify and slide. So the one I'm gonna have you try is going to be this one. So it's on the back, kind of towards the bottom. 6x squared minus 19x plus 15. And here's some steps typed out that you might want to consider putting in your notes, so that you can use them as a guide, because I just showed you the one example. So make sure it's in standard form. Use the diamond method. Divide by A from each of your factors. Reduce the fractions. So I'll put simplify the fractions so that it matches the simplify and slide. And then slide any remaining denominators in front of the variable. Okay, so try this one using these steps. I'll give you like 3 minutes and then I'll check in. All right, so make sure it's in standard form is step 1. Is it in standard form? Can you tell me what standard form is? A little louder maybe so I can hear it. If you can tell me, I will let you go. Whether it's from your notes, whether it's from your memory. What is the formula for standard form? First, I asked if this is in standard form and no one said anything. So then I said, well, what is standard form?
Isn't it like the, I actually don't even know. Right now I'm thinking of like, when I say like 1,000. Or like when I said 100,053, maybe like one. Yeah, like I'm thinking.
Okay, hold that thought, Adelie. I'm gonna ask you another question.
Okay.
Camille, what's standard form?
X squared plus EX equals plus C.
So Adelie, look at this is what standard form is, okay? Is this in standard form?
Yeah.
Okay, you can use the restroom then. Yes,
Okay.
class, this is in standard form. If it wasn't, maybe sometimes I see things like this. Maybe like the C is on the other side or something like that. You would need to rearrange it so that it is in standard form is the key thing there. Since it already is, great, step 1's already done. Next, use the diamond method. Trenton, can you tell me how to set up my diamond?
Looking at it,
Good.
and then put the A and the C, and then the D.
Okay. Alexa, can you tell me what my A and my C are? Six and 15, class, multiply them together, we get 90, that goes on the top. Let's see. Caleb, can you tell me what goes on the bottom?
I think it's me.
No, that's okay, Caleb.
Um,
Okay, can you, maybe if I write the standard form right next to it? And since I wrote that B goes on the bottom, can you tell me what should go there now? A negative 19, yes. So that's how you set up your diamond. All right, A times C on the top, B on the bottom, the A, B, and C should only be numbers. So then I'm looking for numbers that multiply to the top and add to the bottom. What are some things I could try? No one in particular, just what are some numbers I could try? Okay, 9 times 10 does give me 90. Notice it adds to a negative, so then what has to be true about the numbers? They both need to be negative. They multiply to positive, they need to be the same. Since they add to a negative, they have to be negative. So then that gives me what I write down over here, except for that when I FOIL this, does it give me the original? No, so always kind of check that even if it's just in your head. X times X is not 6x squared. So that's why when A is not 1, you have these 2 extra steps. I need to divide by A. Davian, what's my A in this one? No, that's my A times C.
your A.
Okay, good. So that's what I'm dividing each of these by. Now, they don't divide evenly. I do not want decimals. I do want simplified fractions. And I didn't show you yet how you can simplify them if you struggle with fractions. So let's do that now. I'm not restricting your use from Desmos anymore because we're done with our state testing. So if you're not sure what goes into 9 and 6, you could type it in. Yeah, 3 does. You can type it in, press this little button so that it doesn't give you the decimal anymore. And then it gives you the simplified fraction. So easy peasy, even if that's hard for you. You can just put in the calculator, it'll simplify it for you. You have to know how to use your calculator. What does 10 over 6 simplify to? 5 over 3. Because 2 goes into both. And then of course the calculator verifies it. Questions on the simplifying? Okay, usually I will write out this step just so that it looks nicer. But after you simplify, you do what? You slide. It kind of rhymes a little bit. So that's why we say it like that. Simplify the fractions. We're sliding any remaining denominators in front of a variable. And now when I multiply them out, oh, and that should be a 2, sorry. It would help if I wrote down them. All right, and now when I multiply them out, or did I know how to write this down? Now when I multiply them out, I should get my original problem that I was talking about here. So 2x times 3x is 6x squared, 2x times negative 5 is negative 10x, negative 3 times negative 3x is negative 9x, and negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. So this is my final answer. Questions? Getting easier? So hopefully you have the steps written down. If not, maybe consider taking a picture real quick before I scroll, or maybe I'll just write down the next one. So you try the one that's underneath it. It is 6y squared minus y minus 1. Try that one. Yes. Oh, minus 2, sorry. It's the one that's right underneath. So try that one. The steps I'll leave up there. I'll leave this example up there too. First step is to make sure it is class in standard form. Is it? So then, great. First step's already done. Second step is to do what?
The diamond method, so kind of like normal, you use this when it's a trinomial in standard form. What's my A times C in this one? Six and -2 are my A and my C, multiplying together, we get -12 on top. On the bottom, my B is -1 is correct. So A, B, and C should always be numbers. And then we're seeing what we can multiply to get to the top, but add to the bottom. What do you guys get? -4 and 3. Class, does that work? Okay, great. If you struggle, consider making a list, like 2 times 6, you could try 12 times 1. But 4 times 3 is the only way that if we add or subtract, we get the B in this one. So then, so far, what I have is y minus 4, because the 4 was negative, and y plus 3. Note that doesn't FOIL to the original, so that's why those extra steps are there. The next step is to divide by my A, which is 6, yes. What does 4 over 6 reduce to? 2/3. I wish there was an example in this where it reduced to a whole number so that we could show you, like sometimes it does, and then it's just that number. But it's fine. Over here, what does 3/6 reduce to? 1/2, like that. And you could write it nice if you have enough room to. But that's not your final answer. Once you simplify, you slide any remaining denominators in front of the variable. So then it becomes 3y minus 2 and 2y plus 1. Even if you just do it mentally, do just kind of make sure, okay, when I FOIL, is it 6y squared? Is it -2 for the last? And for my outer ones, does it add to the middle? And then you'll see, yes, it does. So then that's how you know you did it right. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, so you do have a puzzle piece, lesson 10. If you have questions, do ask. There's plenty of time in class left to make sure it gets done and that you're all set and ready for the quiz tomorrow, which is factoring the ways that we've learned so far. All right.